war. Let's take a listen.
Very simple, Tom. He has no choice. He lost the war. This is a devastating defeat for the United States. Can you tell me what the United States should do to regain leverage over Iran? I actually think you can't tell me because we have no solution.
Well, Trump might think that because Oman is a US ally, it shouldn't be going along with his arrangement with Tehran. John.
He does think that, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Trump has no cards here. It's as simple as that. I mean, first of all, he can't escalate, which is his main threat, for two reasons. One, he's out of munitions, as Volley said. And number two, our Gulf allies have told him in no uncertain terms that that is unacceptable, because the Iranians have made it clear that if we escalate, they will escalate and they will destroy oil facilities, desalination plants, and so forth and so on in the 6 Gulf states. And they will effectively wreck those states. And Trump doesn't want to go down that road. He has no options here.
That's basically what we see right now. Trump is low-keying it. Wall Street Journal out with a report last night. Trump has settled back on the no war, no peace strategy, believing that economic sanctions, that this time they're gonna work. This time, exactly. And in fact, you know, this latest one that we'll show you, A2, we'll put it up here on the screen, where Trump says, I see representatives of the Islamic Republic are looking for compensation for the damage done to them during the last 5 months of military conflict, even though it was never mentioned in any of our negotiations. But it is an interesting idea, because now I am likewise demanding compensation from Iran for all the people they have killed and gravely wounded, for which they are famous, as led by General Soleimani. Additionally, compensation will be paid to the families of the hundreds of thousands now of innocent protesters that Iran has killed over the last 50 years, not to mention the 52,000 that have been killed in the last 5 months. Do you notice how that number goes up every single time that they talk about it? I have instructed my representatives to put this firmly into any and all future negotiations.
Well, he just cares so deeply about the Iranian people. It's really heartwarming to see.
He followed that up also with the next one, where he says, also with respect to Iran negotiations, Iran should be responsible for damages and deaths caused to the people of Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Gaza. All right, so now apparently Iran is behind all of that. Will you even see that they're blaming Iran for the USS Cole, which was literally done by Al-Qaeda? I mean, it's just total nonsense. But the reason why I think that you have to pair those two things together is, while Trump is still in the no war, no peace strategy, this makes me think this shit's going to go on for years, because that truth is an example of how, when push comes to shove, real surrender is going to be, here's your money, reopen the strait, you get to charge your tolls, we walk away, and the Saudis and everybody else will phase out our bases over time. That's actually what's going to happen eventually. But in the interim, he still is in this position where it's like, oh, you're demanding reparations? Actually, I'm demanding reparations. Or whenever they're like, we're going to charge a toll for the strait, actually, I'm going to charge a toll. Like, he still has to present what Professor Pape calls a victory narrative. And eventually, you know, you just have to give that up. And that's just like, we're stuck right now for probably years, if I had to guess.
Well, I mean, he's got to ride out another 2+ years of the presidency, you know, playing these games with the oil market, trying to keep it at some manageable level. Okay, we can handle $80 a barrel. We can handle 90. Maybe we can handle 100. Like, let's keep, you know, jawboning the markets and see what we can do, and bypass and play this cat and mouse game in the strait, et cetera, and see if we can keep the prices at a level that are relatively manageable, and kick the can down the road to the next president, and let them be the ones that have to withdraw from the region and close all of our bases and admit the humiliating defeat. I mean, it's the same thing that he and every other president did with Afghanistan. It's like, we recognize this was a disaster. The American people actually want us to get out, but don't realize what that's going to entail and how messy and ugly it's going to be. So we're all just going to continue pushing this thing, muddling it along, kind of putting it on the back burner. Now, the question here is, you were able to do that with Afghanistan because there wasn't this like incredibly globally significant strategic trade choke point. Can you do that with Iran? That's the question. And I think now that we are months and months into this thing, and he's been able to navigate it, his approval rating is a disaster. Republicans are going to get blown out in the midterms. Americans really are unhappy with the whole situation. But it hasn't been a total bottom falling out, global economic catastrophe. So now he's getting some confidence that he could just continue to muddle through, that people will get used to the new status quo, and he can push it down the road enough to make it the problem of whoever the next president is. Here, JD, good luck, enjoy. Or here, AOC, or whoever is going to be on the Democratic side. Here, Gavin Newsom, here, Kamala Harris, enjoy. Good luck figuring this one out and having Americans be okay with what will be the acknowledgement of a humiliating defeat at the end of the day. So that's the gamble. Now, I think there's a lot of question marks, including that assumes that Iran just sort of accepts that and is like, okay, sure, we'll let you wait it out. I don't know why they would do that, because they've got they have established that they have escalation dominance. They have a lot of other cards that they can play, including tightening the screws in terms of the oil markets. Bab el-Mandab is not really shut down. There's still a lot of traffic flowing through there. You could increase the pressure there. You could increase the pressure on the Gulf allies. You could go after our bases more aggressively and target our service members, forcing the additional loss of American life. So there's a lot that they could still do. And I don't know that they're just going to accept this state of play and let Trump engage in his low-keying strategy.
Right. Ukraine and Russia is the perfect example. The war is more dangerous today than the day it began for the entire world because of all of these insane Ukrainian strikes. Again, nobody even does any coverage. They killed 13 people at a Russian oil refinery last night, taking off a bunch of jet fuel and diesel. So, eventually the bill is going to come due. There was
some Libya oil refinery that just got hit too because of Libya continuing to be unstable thanks to what we did there.
It's what we keep saying here. You're just a few bad situations away from a genuine nightmare. And we have that. We have A10. We can put it up here. The oil in the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve has now fallen below 300 million barrels. That's the lowest since 1983. The minimum amount of oil needed to safely operate is about 70 million barrels. That number, but I think it's been in dispute from what I understand, because that comes from the current energy department. That previously they had released 172 million barrels at the beginning of the war. That believe that distribution ends in the next month or so. So are they going to have to just keep drawing it down? What's that going to look like? What about China? The Chinese emergence as the most powerful oil buyer in the world was totally unforeseen in this entire war. How much longer are their reserves? We have no idea. They don't publish it. And so all of these big question marks, and it's also like you said, is Iran just going to sit back and take it? If I were them, I couldn't. That would be that would be being ground to your death. However, resuming the war, they kill a few American service members. America starts to accept more risk. Maybe we lose a few pilots. We could kill hundreds of thousands of them literally in a single day if we wanted to. But that's bad too, right? Beyond the moral implications, that would devastate their country. It would lead to, a disaster for them as well. So their leaders, they're in just as much of a vice as Trump. But honestly, the stakes for them are higher. And with the stakes for them as high as where they are, it makes it a lot more dangerous.
Well, because that's the thing is Trump thinks that allowing the economic pressure to build on them as they continue to be under sanctions and unable to, do what they need, charge the toll and the Strait of Hormuz, and inflation is increasing, as that economic tension increases for Iran, he believes that will lead them to give up concessions at the negotiating table. I think it is far more likely that it leads them to escalate.
Yep.
I think that is a much more likely outcome here. But you're right. We're talking about, we're running low on precision long-range missiles, but we have a ton of, dumb bombs that we could just drop on them, 2,000-pound JDAMs and whatever, that we could just drop, and it would entail more risk to our pilots, but that is a possibility that continues to be on the table. So it's not like we are out of anything and the cupboards are completely bare on everything. There is still a massive amount of destructive capability that we wield if we were to choose to take that increased risk to our own service members.
Right, exactly. And that's actually what makes me, afraid. And I think that this is I still think we might be in the opening game. JD has called it the middle game. I don't think that's accurate. You and I both know Memorandum of Understanding alone was a titanic, just even trying to get it was a titanic task and fell apart instantly. So now we're just trying to get back to the memorandum. We haven't even talked about nuclear issues. I think this is going to happen for years. I think it will literally be years and years and years.
Told us yesterday, the conditions that Iran lay down were not even, this is what it will take to get a deal. It was, this is what we will require to even start talking to you again. So it really does feel like we've been to this play before. I mean, our whole lives have been watching these forever wars get started and then just kind of drag on forever and be put on the back burner. And some new, worse status quo is established that people are just forced to accept.
And with oil, I mean, it's $4 a gallon. The White House seems to think that's acceptable. Maybe that's just reality now. $3.50, $4 a gallon for as long as it takes. If the other side of the world has a total crisis, sucks to be them. It's not, we can't bail them out. By the way, our Japanese yen thing that you covered?
Yeah.
It didn't even work.
No,
I know. It's already collapsed by 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, the tools of
they're
our
in a world
empire,
of trouble.
They're in big trouble. South Korea too.
But that's the reason we care is because, and we covered this all in the segment, is because it has major implications for us because they are the largest foreign holder of U.S. treasuries. So if they're forced to sell treasuries to, hold up their own currency and repatriate their own cash, then that means that our interest rates on our treasuries goes up. That means it costs way more for us to service our debt. And that becomes a really big problem, Yeah. So that's why Bessent, had his little shopping to-do list buy, billions of dollars of Japanese yen, because it's not just, poor Japan, they're struggling, which they are. It's poor, this has major implications for us too. And that's why this is very precarious. So on the one hand, I think the Trump plan of low-keying it is aimed at muddling through, getting through, pushing it off to the next president. On the other hand, it continues to be very volatile and fragile. And I'm not sure that is going to be a strategy that can work given the specific dynamics of this conflict. We'll just have to see.
Agreed. All right, let's get to Dems. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.